What makes a legend? Is it their talent, their charisma, or the sacrifices they make to reach greatness? Freddie Mercury had all of it: an unforgettable voice, unmatched stage presence, and a larger-than-life persona. But behind the dazzling performances and iconic music lay a man battling incredible pain that he may not have deserved. From his battles with identity, heartbreak, and loneliness, to the devastating illness that eventually cut his life short at the ripe age of 45. This is the story of the life, struggle, and death of one of the most iconic singers ever to grace this earth, Freddie Mercury. Farrokh Bulsara, the boy who would one day mesmerize the world as Freddie Mercury, was born on September 5th, 1946, in Zanzibar.
He was born on 5th September 1946. And funny enough, it happened to be on our Parsi New Year's Day.
From the beginning, his life was shaped by challenges. Born into a Parsi family, practicing Zoroastrianism, Freddie's world was ruled by tradition and community, a foundation that would later clash with the vibrant, unapologetically unique persona he would create for himself. His parents, Bomi and Jaya Bulsara, were deeply rooted in their heritage, instilling in Freddie a sense of discipline and cultural pride. This upbringing, however, often felt at odds with his growing creativity and individuality. In 1964, his family fled to England during the Zanzibar Revolution, seeking safety but facing a new wave of hardships. The violence in Zanzibar, which claimed thousands of lives, forced them to leave behind their home and possessions, arriving in England as refugees with little more than hope for a better future. Settling in the working-class town of Feltham, Middlesex, they encountered a society that was not always welcoming. Racism was rampant, and Freddie, already an introverted and sensitive teenager, found it difficult to fit in. He was teased relentlessly for his prominent teeth, earning the cruel nickname Bucky from classmates. Even as he faced these challenges, Freddie carried a quiet dignity that set him apart, often retreating into his own world of creativity to escape the cruelty around him.
He was playing the piano. Remove the piano, there's nothing left of the hectics.
We started playing amongst in the school first. Then as Mr. Davis, he is the one who actually encouraged us.
Music became his sanctuary. At a young age, he had already shown a deep love for melody, often sitting at the piano for hours, finding solace in its keys.
All the symptoms were there. Plenty of noise and, I should say, very melodious. Even people like myself enjoyed their music.
During his time with the Hectics, he explored his growing passion for performance and began developing the confidence that would later take center stage. His ability to connect deeply with music was evident even then, and those who knew him remarked on his intense focus when he played. His years at Ealing Art College proved transformative, giving him not only a formal education, but also a space to channel his creativity. There, Freddie studied graphic design and embraced London's vibrant art and music scenes, which were bursting with innovation during the swinging 60s.
I went through art college, and I was going to be a graphics illustrator, It was just, obviously, I can paint and do that.
He was a great artist, just line drawings, pencil. Had this whole catalogue of stuff. Hendrix, he did a load of pictures of Hendrix, which were brilliant.
He became fascinated by artists like Jimi Hendrix and Aretha Franklin, whose bold performances and boundary-pushing styles greatly influenced his own. At Ealing, Freddie began to refine his flamboyant style, combining art, fashion, and music into something entirely his own. He stood out with his unique sense of fashion, wearing brightly colored clothing and experimenting with androgynous looks. Classmates often recalled how his magnetic personality began to emerge during these years. But even as his talent grew, so did his feelings of isolation. He had a foot in two worlds, one shaped by the traditions of his family, and another driven by his rising desire for freedom and expression. This tension between expectation and individuality created a deep internal conflict for Freddie. In the book Freddie Mercury, A Life, in his own words, he reflected on those memories saying, "My parents were outraged when I told them what I was up to. I used to go home periodically and turn up in these outrageous clothes, with my fingernails painted black, and at that time, my mother used to freak out. They used to say, 'My God, don't let the neighbors see you. Come in here quick. Use the back door. These early years laid the groundwork for the resilience that would define his life. Freddie's ability to turn pain into beauty became the trademark of his artistry, a gift born from a youth that demanded strength far beyond his years. And then, that gift grew wings, beginning to take flight. In 1970, when he joined Brian May and Roger Taylor, Queen was not yet the legendary band we know today. Freddie, however, had a vision. It was he who suggested the name Queen, believing it represented the grandeur and drama he wanted the band to embody. His attention to detail extended to their iconic logo, a crest he designed by combining the astrological signs of the band members. "We decided to call the band Queen, and I designed the Queen crest logo," he revealed. "I simply combined all the creatures that represent our star signs, 2 lions for Leo, John and Roger, a crab for Cancer, Brian, and 2 fairies for Virgo, Freddie, and I don't even believe in astrology." Queen's early performances were modest, but Freddie's theatrical stage presence stood out immediately. His commanding charisma and unmistakable voice set him apart, captivating audiences even before the band found its sound. However, success didn't come easily. The group faced numerous rejections and lineup changes before breaking through. By 1973, they released their self-titled debut album, followed by Queen 2 in 1974. Songs like 7 Seas of Rye showed flashes of their potential, but it wasn't until A Night at the Opera in 1975 that Queen truly found their moment. The Night at the Opera became a game changer for the band, with Bohemian Rhapsody at its center. The song, over 6 minutes long, defied conventional wisdom about what could succeed on the radio. Mixing operatic vocals, ballads, and rock riffs, it was unlike anything the music world had ever heard. Freddie was instrumental in crafting its complex structure, layering harmonies and blending genres seamlessly. Skepticism ran high, with even their label doubting its potential as a single. But Freddie remained resolute, convinced of its brilliance. DJ Kenny Everett's clever teasing of the track on air created anticipation, and when it was finally released, Bohemian Rhapsody became a worldwide sensation, topping charts and changing the music industry forever. Its groundbreaking music video not only elevated the song's impact, but also set a precedent for how visuals could transform music. But fame came with a cost. The press often focused more on Freddie's personal life than his music. His flamboyant style and relationships became tabloid stories, and the scrutiny took a toll on him. The constant attention sometimes led to periods of isolation and destructive behavior.
Why haven't you done any interviews in the past few years?
Because I hate them.
Why?
I just hate them. I hate talking to people I don't really know. It's the media basically built me up being a real ogre and a tyrant on stage, because the way I come across on stage, I'm very volatile, and that's the only part they see of me. I mean, if I don't talk to everybody, so they don't really know the real me, and I don't think anybody will.
Despite the pressures of fame, Freddie's creativity was unstoppable. He continued to push boundaries, blending musical genres and redefining what a rock band could achieve. Songs like Somebody to Love and We Are the Champions showcased his ability to channel complex emotions into anthems that resonated with millions. Queen became more than just a band. It was a voice for those who felt out of place, led by a frontman who refused to let anyone define him. And yet, Mercury's refusal to conform came with a heavy price, as he struggled deeply to balance the larger-than-life image he showed the world with the private battles he kept hidden. As a young man living in a conservative era, Freddie kept his sexuality hidden, guarding his private life closely. Freddie's relationships, including his long-term partnership with Mary Austin, reflected the complexity of his identity. He once called Mary the love of my life, despite their eventual romantic separation, when Freddie began to explore his attraction to men. The 1970s and 1980s were not kind to those who did not conform. Homophobia was widespread, and the LGBTQ+ community faced immense prejudice. Freddie's flamboyant on-stage persona was celebrated, yet he remained guarded about his personal life. Publicly, he walked a fine line, often deflecting questions about his relationships in interviews, with one of his most famous lines being,
I'm just a musical prostitute, my dear.
However, the media's relentless fascination with Freddie's private life only added to his struggles. Tabloids speculated endlessly, often sensationalizing his sexuality and lifestyle. In a candid moment, Freddie admitted in an interview, "The most important thing, darling, is to live a fabulous life. As long as it's fabulous, I don't care how long it is." But even as he embraced his individuality, the scrutiny weighed heavily on him. Despite the pressure, Freddie found strength in his art. His lyrics often hinted at the complexity of his emotions, longing, vulnerability, and a desire to break free. Songs like Somebody to Love and The Great Pretender carried a painfulness that spoke to his inner battles. His courage to live authentically, even when the world wasn't ready to accept him, has since made him a symbol of pride and self-expression for generations. But this point was, unfortunately, the beginning of the end. Freddie Mercury's life took a devastating turn in the mid-1980s when he was diagnosed with AIDS, a disease that, at the time, was poorly understood and heavily stigmatized. In 1987, Freddie confided his diagnosis to his closest friends and bandmates, but chose to keep it from the public. He valued his privacy and feared the ruthless media, which had already subjected his personal life to endless speculation. For Freddie, the decision to stay silent was as much about protecting those closest to him as it was about shielding himself. Despite his declining health, Freddie's creative spirit burned brighter than ever. He continued recording and performing with Queen, channeling his pain into some of the band's most powerful and emotional works. Tracks like These Are the Days of Our Lives,
Bad things in life were so few.
and The Show Must Go On became reflections of his journey, combining resilience, acceptance, and a farewell to his fans. As Brian May later remarked, Freddie kept singing to the end, even when it was physically impossible. He was living for his music.
Freddie in his last days was like, okay guys, I'm not going to be here long, just give me stuff to sing. I'll sing, you know, write me stuff in the back of a cigarette packet, whatever, just give me stuff to sing. So we did a lot of that, and then when he'd gone, I mean, he was very undramatic about it, you know, he was never maudlin, ever. I never ever saw him kind of cry or go, you know, self-pity. He never did that. He was like, let's just do it, let's keep doing stuff. Freddie was always inspiring.
As his condition worsened, Freddie retreated to his Kensington home, surrounded by those he trusted and loved the most. His longtime friend and former partner, Mary Austin, remained a constant presence, along with his partner, Jim Hutton. Freddie valued loyalty above all else and made sure the people he trusted most remained a part of his life. In his final days, Freddie made the brave decision to publicly acknowledge his illness. On November 23, 1991, a statement was released. Following the enormous conjecture in the press over the last 2 weeks, I wish to confirm that I have tested HIV positive and have AIDS. I felt it correct to keep this information private in order to protect the privacy of those around me. However, the time has come for my friends and fans around the world to know the truth, and I hope that everyone will join with me in the fight against this terrible disease. Freddie Mercury passed away just 24 hours later, on November 24, 1991, at the age of 45. His death was attributed to bronchial pneumonia brought on by AIDS. Jim Hutton emotionally described those last moments, saying, "He looked radiant. One minute he was a boy, with a gaunt, sad little face, and the next, he was a picture of ecstasy. Freddie's whole face went back to everything it had been before. He looked finally and totally at peace." Freddie's passing was a devastating loss to his bandmates, friends, and millions of fans worldwide. Yet his death also marked a turning point in the fight against AIDS. Freddie's courage in sharing his diagnosis brought attention to a disease that had long been shrouded in fear and ignorance. In the years that followed, his legacy fueled greater awareness and compassion, inspiring organizations like the Mercury Phoenix Trust to continue the battle against AIDS in his name. Though he left the world far too soon, Freddie Mercury's influence on music and culture continues to resonate across generations. His unique voice, stage presence, and unapologetic individuality remain unparalleled, inspiring countless artists and fans alike. The 2018 biopic Bohemian Rhapsody reignited global appreciation for Freddie's genius. Starring Rami Malek in an Oscar-winning performance, the film explored the complexities of Freddie's life, from his struggles with identity and relationships to his unparalleled creativity. The movie's recreation of Queen's legendary 1985 Live Aid performance brought audiences back to the peak of Freddie's career, showcasing his unmatched ability to command a stage. The concert, widely regarded as one of the greatest live performances in history, was a reminder of how Freddie could captivate not only the crowd in Wembley Stadium, but also millions watching from around the world.
We're all legends.
The film also delved into the making of the groundbreaking anthem that shares its name with the film. The song itself, which took 3 weeks to record, was Freddie's masterpiece. Even decades later, its influence on both music and culture is undeniable. The film's success introduced Freddie's genius to a new generation, making Queen's music more popular than ever. Following its release, the band's streaming numbers rose, with Bohemian Rhapsody alone surpassing 1 billion views on YouTube, making it the most streamed song from the 20th century. Freddie's enduring legacy lies not only in his music, but in his ability to inspire individuality and courage. For those who feel different or misunderstood, his story serves as a beacon of hope. He defied societal expectations at every turn, proving that success comes from embracing who you are. His boldness in expressing himself, both on and off stage, broke barriers, particularly in a time when flamboyance and fluid identity were met with skepticism and prejudice. Though his life was tragically cut short and he faced demons he never deserved, Freddie Mercury left behind a legacy of hope, humanity, and unapologetic authenticity. His voice, both literal and metaphorical, continues to echo through the music he created and the millions of lives he touched. His story resonates as powerfully today as it did during his lifetime, a reminder that true greatness comes from the courage to live life on your own terms. Freddie Mercury was the kind of legend we get only once in a lifetime. He had charisma, enthusiasm, glamour, humor, and the voice of a generation. He was, is, and always will be an icon in the music industry. His life may have been filled with struggles, but his legacy is pure inspiration.
What's the lyric?
Sing it with